There's going to be three phases of the side control. There's going to be three pillars of defense with the side control. And with those three pillars of defense, then you have three choices that you can make. Side control isn't real. I'm kidding. Side control is very real. The people that tell you that are too good at jiu-jitsu. Myself, we're in the middle here. But I know what you're saying. You've asked your coach, "Coach, how do I get out of side control?" And they're like, "Don't be there." And that's a good answer. That's a great answer. That doesn't help you, okay? So we're gonna actually answer this question in a way that is helpful for you, okay? So side control, for those that are unfamiliar, that'd be really odd if you're not familiar with it, but hey, just in case you're not, side control is where he has passed my guard. Voila, okay? So there are three stages to side control. One is he's passing my guard somehow here, and it's like right there. That's early, okay? Then we have the middle stage. The middle stage is where like, oh man, I'm not quite dead yet, but like he's clearly passed my guard. And then we have late stage, where it's like a limb is isolated, and it's just a bad thing. We're going to talk today more about the late stage, the middle stage, and the late stage, and we'll talk about the early stage later. The early stage is more about guard retention versus side control things, okay? But we'll talk about that later. For now, I want to talk about side control here. Now, real quick, what I'm going to give you in this video, just so you guys are aware, so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to, but ideally you will, is there's going to be three phases of the side control. There's going to be three pillars of defense with the side control. And with those three pillars of defense, then you have three choices that you can make. And that's pretty much how we'll build from there. All right, so let's talk about the pillars. The pillars of defense here, he's passed my guard. So one is I cannot be flat. If I am flat, I'm dead, I'm pinned. So I'm going to create an X post. I'm going to post with my right leg, in this instance, to my left shoulder here, so I am no longer flat. That's pillar number one. Pillar number two is a frame. I need to create frames to create distance, like so. So now as he tries to put weight into me, it's very difficult for him to do. My frames can also be my legs. Notice I'm framing against his hip. This is just so he can't just hop into mount or go to knee on belly with ease. And the third pillar is movement. Now, I'm not just saying have a seizure, okay? Ideally, you're gonna move with authority and you're gonna move with purpose, okay? So from here, if I have this particular junction here with my right foot to my left shoulder like so, I will be moving out like that to be able to create another frame, to add more frames to create distance, okay? Or sometimes you might want to do fetal facing away kind of position here, where it's my left foot to my right shoulder. So as he tries to flatten it out here, right, I might be moving into him to create kind of a movement that way, okay? So those are the three pillars of defense. Now, that's good for like our middle stage. When I'm in here and I create that, okay, if I don't have my frames and I am flat, this is where the late stage comes in. So anytime I don't have at least two of the pillars, this is what I consider late stage side control, where I'm kind of pinned, I'm flat, and either a limb is isolated or I'm getting in a bad spot. So when this happens, ideally now, we'll go ahead and switch to like building our pillars. So the first pillar, the easiest pillar, is going to be the flatness. And I know it seems like that's the hardest part, but it's not. We're going to use movement, the third pillar, to get to our first pillar. So when I'm here, I'm going to start moving my legs, and now I'm here and I'm no longer flat, okay? Now, when I'm no longer flat, so I have two frames, I have two pillars that I did. I did movement and that. Now I can use the frames that I've built to create more movement because I'm here and I can start to regard, okay? So let me say that again in a little more better way, okay? So I'm flat, things are isolated, late stage. I'm gonna start building the pillars. The first one is the movement here. And once I get the movement, I can no longer be flat. And now I can use my no longer being flatness, that's how I'm gonna word that, I guess, to build frames, okay? Now, you see how this arm is here? Sometimes he'll do this if he wants to get like head and arm and all that. So instead, what I'm going to do is when this arm starts getting isolated, I'm gonna bring it over here and I'm gonna do the cranial shift like so. Then I could swim this in, and sorry, crushes Adam's apple. I felt that, you okay? So now I'm here and I have my frames. I'm not flat, okay? Does that make sense, I hope? Now, leave a comment if that makes sense. If it doesn't, don't leave a comment and just keep watching. Okay, so now you got to your middle stage. At the middle stage, we have our 3 choices that we have to make. I can either choose to attack, I can then choose to reverse, like land a reversal, or I can re-guard or get on top, okay? Or like wrestle up. So those are our 3 choices in reverse order. Attacking is not the way to go from here. Okay, I know Dave's gonna be upset with this. He's gonna be like, this is not Dave's Jiu-Jitsu. Good news, the channel's name's not Dave Jiu-Jitsu, okay? It's very sad for him, okay? But there are several attacks that you can land from here that are always like kind of available. Not always, they can be set up. The first one's gonna be the reverse triangle. This is Dave's go-to move, okay? I'm gonna be teaching it because it's ironic because I end up in it all the time, okay? So the way I like to play the bottom triangle, because I have attempted it in competition and stuff, is I will go to my fetal facing away type position here. So instead of going full fetal away, however, I'm going to just not be flat here. So I'm doing the crossbars from my left foot to my right shoulder. And look at that, where is his hand? It's exactly where I wanted it. So I'm gonna take him, I'm gonna slap him in the face. Just kidding. I'm gonna go here and I put my hand right onto the elbow pit here, and I'm gonna make my knee come here and hang on here, okay? You might have a sweep if they're kind of dumb, okay? And they don't know where they are in space and time.
Don't be dumb.
Just don't be dumb. If that's the case, you're in a good spot. You're rolling with somebody dumb, okay? Chances are, however, unfortunately for us, people are kind of smart. It is what it is, okay? So now that I have that, I can start to use my other leg to collect the arm, okay? From here, if you have good hands, which I don't, you might wanna try and hang on to this and bring your leg up around. I tend not to have that kind of flexibility because my knee, I'm just older. I'm not built like that, okay? And I do squats a lot. You'd think I'd be better at it. But I'm gonna frame on his head like so, and I'm gonna push him towards this direction. And then now I can open this up here to collect. Okay? Then from here, I'll go ahead and put the triangle on. Now, in order to finish the triangle, I'll rocking chair up to grab that hand, pulling the hand across and getting the tap. Okay? If I don't have this hand, which he'll hide it here, I start to attack there and I'll get the tap. Okay? So that's one way you can attack. That's the only way, fair. Okay? The next way, if you go fetal facing away and he moves this arm to where you can't touch it, like you're here, you're gonna frame on the head, pushing him up, taking this here, collecting that, swinging up around here for the arm bar. Bam. Okay? It's hit me right in the face. I respect it, okay? Now, those are 2 methods, and these are all fetal facing away, which is not a good idea. I actually got tapped with comp going fetal facing away recently. I got arm barred because this arm does get left behind. The jiu-jitsu snap. Sorry. So the last one we'll do as an attack is gonna be the baseball bat choke. I'm not good at these, but they do exist here. So sometimes I'll be able to swim this hand in and then feed up here into the lapel from here, and then I can take that here, go here, and then I turn down and I get the tap, okay? That one's gonna be really hard because as soon as I bring my hands like this, and if I didn't already set it up as he was passing, it's easy for him to see he can cross face me, push away, and be really mean. So the first 2 are better. So those are your methods of attack. Methods of reversal, these are my personal favorites. My coach hates it. This is where we are in space and time with me and my jiu-jitsu. Maybe one day I'll be good at regarding. The first reversal is I'm in this particular position and I'm not flat, I'm here. I'm gonna reach up, I'm gonna grab like so, keeping his arm kind of bent into that Kimura position and then bringing him up and over, hiding his head, and then coming up into the top position here. All right, this is a really good one. I really like this one. When it works, God, it feels so cool. But a lot of times, it doesn't work because he does other things. So the next one we're gonna do is if I try to do that, instead of cross-facing, he might actually keep the cross-face, but it might be so deep that I can't actually get this here. So when that happens, I'm gonna go back to not being flat. I'm gonna take my fingertips into his shoulder. I'm gonna pull open just so I'm not immediately dying. Here, I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna grab here, okay? Ideally, he's gonna be kind of here, like on his elbow here. So as I'm not flat here, I'll drive really hard in him. He doesn't like it, so I come back this way. And then I end up on top. Sometimes here, this arm is just not here at all. So I'm not gonna be able to roll because he's gonna be able to post. So when that happens, I'm gonna actually do what's called a backstroke here, and I'm gonna do a cranial shift at the same time, and I'm gonna go over my left shoulder. So I bring my head to the mat, I backstroke, and I hit the head. Boom. And I get up this way. One last reversal. This is the especial. Okay, yeah, he knows. Yeah, oh shoot. Okay, sometimes when I get put in a head and arm, I stop it by reaching here. And see, I pull his head down and I have the frame here. Again, I'm not flat. I'm driving into him. And a lot of times I'll remove the foot frame so he thinks, oh, I'm just gonna mount. And as soon as he brings his hips up to mount, that's when I go. And it's super fun to get. I land that in comp all the time. We've attacked, we have reversed. Now we'll do the bread and butter that every coach likes, especially if they're old school, re-guard. So when I'm here, I'm not gonna be flat. I'm gonna bring in here into the Y frame. If he sits up for a second, I've made a frame like so, and I've made that connection. So since I have that here, it's an easier thing for me to do, to push like so. I can swim this in. I can go for my sweeps and stuff like here, or I can go to full butterfly, sit up, go, and whatever. That's like the best one you should go for. That's the one that makes the most sense. So now, another way for me to re-guard from here is to get an underhook. So a lot of times I'll not be flat, I'll have my friends, and I'll dive this in, okay? Then from here, I'm gonna attempt, kind of like the reversal that I did when I like kind of swam that way, but what it's gonna create is it's gonna create a lot of space. And when it creates all that space here, a lot of times I can pull this leg in and shoot the butterfly hook in. And the last way I'll regard, this is an Eli Especial. I'm not particularly good at it, but he's good at it. Where I go here, I'll go fetal facing away, and I'll feed this here, okay? When I'm here, it kind of pulls a little bit on the hip, and that makes that leg light. He'll lift that leg up, and as he does, I shoot my butterfly hook in, I'll pull this leg in, and now again, I'm into my butterfly hook guard. So you have those three methods: attacking, reversing, and regarding. Obviously the one I don't do. And those are the three. Now I'll give you a little quick secret. You can do two of them together in conjunction, and they tend to work a little better. I tend to go for a reversal, especially the Ed Especial, and then he bases with his head and his hand here, but he creates all this space for me to regard. That's something I've been doing a lot in competition recently, because these black belts, for some reason, they don't want to be, yeah, they're hard to sweep. They don't want to be reverse. Lame. Yeah, super lame. Another way to do that is to go for an attack. So I can go for the arm bar that I went before, where I framed away, bring in. He makes all this space because he doesn't want to be arm barred. As soon as he makes the space, you just fill it in here, and then you can go for your sweeps. Those are the basic building blocks of a good side control bottom defense game. You have your three pillars, you have your movement, you have your frames, and you have don't be flat. Then you have your three methods that you can then choose once you are not flat and smushed and miserable. You can attack, you can reverse, or you can regard. I'm going to show you real quick a little bit of a drilling mechanism that you can do and kind of build up from there. And something that Joseph Chen talked about a lot is dialogue, to have dialogue with your partner on what works and what doesn't work. He calls it tinkering. I'm not ready to use that word yet, but that's what he calls it. And, you know, I think of tinkering, I think of like Lincoln Logs and those like, I don't know, I'm 40, so do they play with Lincoln Logs anymore? Okay, no. The world has gone awry. All right, so awry? The world has gone awry? Yeah. Doesn't matter, you can cut that part out, or don't, whatever. Okay, so the first drill that you'll do is you'll start from here, like a positional drill, and then 2 minutes on top, 2 minutes on bottom. And he's gonna add various levels of resistance. It's ideally you do this a couple times a week, so that way you get the reps and the varying levels of resistance, and you get different body types. That way you can actually like start. In the beginning, I'd pick someone smaller or weaker than you, and then you just kind of bully them to make things work, because doing new things is hard, and it's especially hard if they're bigger, stronger, and better at jiu-jitsu than you, because none of it's gonna work. So that's why I chose Dave. Now, so now I would start here. Then the next round, I'd have him go into what I call cage side control, where he brings this arm up and over. Then I'd have him do another round from Kesa. And then I'd have him do another round from north-south, which we're not going to show.
Good. That's my bad side.
That's your bad side. Wow. So take those drills, and that way you can actually work them and get better at defending side control. And then you too can say, just don't end up there, and they can be happy. Make sure to follow my Instagram @Edimus, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment if this was helpful for you and if you believe side control is real or not, and then I will respond with your right or wrong.